Hey everyone, the professor here. I want to do a quick primer about what I'm going to call cost tiers for folding knives. Now this does not affect multi-tools, fixed blades, or Swiss Army knives that have a knife but are really trying to be something else. This is strictly for folding knives, pocket knives if you want to call them that. As you know, I rate gear on a scale from 0 to 8, and it didn't really feel fair to look at cost and use the same descriptors that I do on so many other categories. It's not so much that a knife that costs a lot of money is necessarily horrible in terms of pricing. It's just, it's a different tier knife than something that's really inexpensive or cheap. The cheap knives, I wouldn't want to say cost is incredible if they're a piece of junk. And the really great knives, I wouldn't want to say are horrible to buy if they're really great knives that just, you're paying a premium for that greatness. I came up with some other words to sort of describe the costing tiers, and I'm going to go through those and kind of talk about why I broke them up where I did. This came from researching knives, both the cost of knives as they are right now in places like Blade Forums and Amazon, as well as watching other YouTubers and sort of trying to get a feel for those who have handled other knives, kind of what they consider to be break points for different costing tiers. To my knowledge, I'm the first one to try to put them into 9 different tiers, and maybe I'm nuts for doing that, but it has to fit my system. So here we are. A note on price is that these dollar values are 2017 dollars around September of the year 2017. So these category names probably won't change, but the values of the costs here will have to go up with inflation, or if the market value of knives were to suddenly shift up or down, I will try to adjust these in response to that. So the first tier are your gimmick or your add-on knives that are under $5. Stuff like your Ozark trail knives, or a lot of knives that are the second knife. You're buying a knife and there's also includes this thing, you know, and it's not that high quality usually. This is the tier where you're most likely to see unmarked steel, or it'll just say stainless steel. So don't expect to get a steel worth anything for under $5. The next tier is what I call budget knives, and that's from about $5 to $20. And this is where you get knives like your TF-801. A lot of tack force knives fall in this price range. Schrade knives also fall into this category, like your Schrade old timer here. After that, you get into kind of budget knives, but I'm going to call this economy, which is your $20 to $40 knives. This is where a lot of your Kershaws fall. The Kershaw Cryo, the Kershaw Shield right here, the Kershaw Oso Suite. Also, your Ontario Rats 1 and 2 fall into this category, and some of your CRKTs like the Hootenanny also fall into this under 40 category, the economy tier. This is the tier where you see a lot of 8CR13 MOV, as well as some AUS 8 or 420HC type steel. From just over $40 to $75, you get into what I consider standard tier. And this begins what I'm going to consider the S-class, or 3 S tiers here. And standard tier, there's a lot of knives that fall between $40 and $75. Your Spyderco Delica 4 and Spyderco Endura 4 fall in this tier, as well as the Mannix 2 in CTS BD1 steel, your Spyderco Dragonfly, and there are a lot of other brands that also make knives in that sort of price range. This is probably the cheapest you can go and still get a pretty good steel, like a VG10, a D2, CTS BD1, something like that. If you want only one knife and you're not going to use it all that often, standard tier. Above $75 and to $100 and we'll say $135, I'm going to call your select tier. This is where a lot of your Benchmades enter the picture. Like your Benchmade Griptilian and your Mini Griptilian both fall in this price range. You also get the Imkusta Katana toward the top of this price range in VG10. There's a lot at this category as well. And above about $130, some people don't feel that unless you're really a knife person, it's worth spending more. So this is probably, as the name Select would indicate, sort of the top tier for non-knife people. If you're only going to own one knife, if it's a Select knife and a good one, I mean, there are some things that are selling at this price point that are not really worth it. But if you would only have one knife, This is probably the first tier that you could have a really nice knife to be your only knife. So then the last of the S tiers is the superior tier, which falls between $135 and $200. And I don't actually have a representative for this class right now. The one that I have the most interest in is I'd like to get a Spyderco Paramilitary 2 in S110V, which is around $155, so it falls on the lighter side, the lower side of this superior tier. But as I said, I don't actually have one of those today. You also have your Benchmade 940 in S30V, your Spyderco Manix 2 in Maximate, the Native 5 in Maximate, also by Spyderco. This is the first tier where you can really start to see the Maximate steel, which is a premium steel with very good edge retention from what I hear. Again, I haven't personally handled these. From $200 to $300, or I'll say $305, you get your premium tier. And my representative for the premium tier is the most costly knife that I own, the ZT-0452CF in S35VN steel. You're in now the tier 2 knives of up to $305, so you're talking about a significant investment for most people. So this is really the knives that are the top end production knives, the premium production knives. Tier 1 is going to start probably your mid-techs and also your really high dollar production knives. The break point for these two is kind of pie in the sky at this point for me, unless my channel and my bank account, to be frank, get a lot larger. I'm probably not going to be reviewing anything in these categories. Maybe someday, and if I do get one that is mine, I will certainly make a review of it, but I'm not holding my breath, and unless my situation changes quite a bit, I don't expect to do much with the tier 1 or the tier 0, and by extension, I don't have a representative of them to show. As you move up, you get better steel, you get potentially better brand names, you get better materials, you get better actions, hopefully. You move away from Teflon washers and move to either your phosphor bronze, your metallic washers, or bearings, whether they be captive bearings or free bearings. You get a knife that's more showy to people who know about knives. I just wanted to create this as a primer before I do a knife review, just to introduce these knife cost tiers. Gimmick, budget, economy, standard, select, superior, premium, mid-tech, custom. And again, the dollar values are 2017 dollar values, and they will probably adjust with inflation. And if I'm totally off on the breakpoint for mid-techs and customs, let me know. I didn't research there too much because, frankly, I didn't want to find something that I really, really wanted and realize I'd have to sell my car to get it.